Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Hello, I'm Zina Shevchik, your host for Parenting in the 21st Century. We have with us today Dan Liebert, the principal of our area's newest school, Tech Valley High School. Welcome, Mr. Liebert.
Well, thank you for having me.
I would like to dig right in and have you tell us what Tech Valley High School is, or what it will be, because I understand its opening is in this fall.
Tech Valley High School is a regional public high school that draws its students from the 48 school districts, those school districts in the Questar 3 BOCES region and those in the Capital District BOCES, Capital Region BOCES. So there are a total of 48 school districts in those two BOCES. Tech Valley High School is a product of the collaboration between those two BOCES. The two district superintendents, Barbara Nagler at the time and Jim Baldwin, who's also the current district superintendent in Questar 3, collaborated a number of years ago to start the process of creating a new public regional high school. And Tech Valley High School is a product of that. We draw our students from those 48 school districts. The school will open next fall, September of '07, with 40 students from 35 of those 48 school districts are participating in the first year, sending us students. And we will be located in donated corporate office space of the MapInfo Corporation, which is located in the Rensselaer Tech Park, just south of Troy. So that's the who and the where and the when. The content of the academic program is really much more extensive than that. It's been based on a collaboration not just between the two BOCES, although that's been the core. It's been a collaboration between a number of business and community partners that have created the academic program.
And what is the mission of this high school, its intent, its purpose, that's different from the other public high schools in these two BOCES or organizations?
That's a great question, and that's the fun part, because the vision and mission is, to summarize, really twofold. One, of course, it's to serve the needs of the students attending there, number one, their academic program, their health and safety, their social and developmental needs. But secondly, to serve as a model to the region for innovative, creative approach to secondary education. What we hope to apply at Tech Valley High School is the best of what we know about secondary education nationally. And we want to create the components of the program that match what we know is the best for all students at the secondary level. So first of all, the mission is around the students. They will receive a standard Regents or advanced Regents diploma. They'll achieve all of the New York State learning standards and achieve the same credits that students in traditional public high schools get. However, the way we go about accomplishing that will be somewhat different, centered around project-based learning, connections and internships and externships with some of the emerging technologies in the region, and an integrated academic program, meaning that math and science and social studies and English will be combined and integrated into projects that will be the core of the curriculum, rather than a traditional 8 or 9 period day that most students in high school go through.
So what would, if I walked into a classroom in, say, I'll give you a couple of months here to get things figured out. If I walked into a classroom at Tech Valley High School in November 2007, what would I see? Would it be similar to a typical public high school classroom in any district, or it would be quite different?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think some similarities. The student body will look the same. You'll see ball caps on backwards, although hopefully not in class. Students that will reflect the region in terms of gender and ethnic background, socially, we'll have 40 ninth graders next year, and we're going to build slowly over 4 years to a full academic program. So the model calls for 40 ninth graders next year, 40 the following year, and those 2 years will be at MAPA and FO. And then by the fall of 2009, we hope to be in our own building that would be able to house 400. So we would, at that point, recruit 100 students for the freshman class. But next November, what you'll see is 40 students. And our model, at Tech Valley High School, it's important to know that it's a replication project of the New Technology Foundation. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been supporting a number of high school reforms throughout the country. Among them is the New Technology Foundation. And that effort to replicate schools in that model matches very closely to the model that was designed 2 or 3 years ago when Dr. Nagler and Jim Baldwin got together with all their partners to create the vision for Tech Valley High School. But to get back to your question, what are you going to see? You'll see 2 teachers in front of the room, a very large project studio with 40 students in it, longer blocks of time, and a one-to-one computer environment. So what you will see is students and teachers working in a great variety of interactions. You'll see 2 teachers in front of 40 students, sometimes 1 teacher in front of 20 students, sometimes students collaborating, working together in small groups on projects. Sometimes you'll see one-to-one tutoring. Sometimes you'll see community members, business folks, and others participating really in the instruction and the instructional activities that are happening, because we want our curriculum to parallel what's happening in the real world. So I hope you'll see lots of variety of small group activities. I think you'll see a lot of technology. I think you'll see a lot of community involvement, people, adults from the real world helping to educate our students. I think also if you come on a day when they're being assessed, you'll see presentation work. We talk a lot about how are we going to integrate the development of 21st century skills into our program. And some of those skills, collaboration skills, teamwork skills, the ability to think across disciplines, not just in one particular area, and to present and defend your work. And much of then our assessment process, in addition to traditional Regents exams and pen and paper tests, you will see quite a bit of student presentation, feedback from adults and their peers, and developmentally, what is developmentally appropriate, improving that ability to present and defend their work.
So it's not just a techie high school, it sounds to me like, anyway, and it's not just familiarity with technology and what it can do for you or the culture, but also whether you can verbalize and articulate what you're doing and what you've learned, so you're saying it's like outcome-based, is that what they
Absolutely, or what we call, some folks call authentic assessment or performance-based assessment, as opposed to standardized exam assessment. I think you'll see all of those pieces. I think that we are focused, though, on developing the capacity of our students to perform in the real world, both in the university and in the world of work. And both of those entities are changing rapidly. And so our ideal is to construct a program for our students that prepares them for both of those areas, as well as prepares them for the world of work.
So I'm gathering that we're not going to see rows of desks and strict alignment,
well,
and a teacher in front of. I mean, that's what I guess I was interested in.
You will not, because we haven't ordered any desks. And they won't be there. So
you're going to have big. You haven't ordered them yet, or
tables, chairs, very similar to the one we're sitting at, a little larger, that would accommodate groups of 4 to 6. On rolling casters so that we can move them around. Large project studios rather than classrooms is what we call them, project studios. So that we want to give the sense that it's about student work. It's not about an older paradigm of teacher as deliverer of instruction. It's much more of a coaching model, a mentorship model, an apprenticeship model, really, than it is just traditional, what you would think of as traditional high school instruction. But you mentioned Tech Valley, and I just wanted to, and you said that it would not necessarily be a techie school, and I think that's important to develop a little bit of the understanding, because when you look at Tech Valley itself, it's not all about or only about emerging technologies. It's not only about, although it's about nanotechnology and biotechnology, information technology, advanced materials, AMD coming in, and alternative energy. It is certainly about those things. But in our region, we have enormous cultural resources. We have enormous natural resources that should be a source of education for our students. The theater and the music and it is on a parallel track in development in this region, as well as the emerging technologies. So when we label it Tech Valley High, it's not only about emerging technologies, it's about the richness of what is in our region, and exposing our students to that with the hope that they see how wonderful it is, and that when they finish college or university, or when they finish high school and go into the world of work, they stay here. And we want to retain the best of what we have in the region here.
Right. Going along a little bit more with the technology, when I read the information that your office provided me about the teachers that were hired, there were 4 teachers. There are 4 teachers that have initially been hired, and one's in mathematics, the other's in science, and one in English and one in social studies. And what popped up to me in my mind was no technology teachers, no computer scientists, that kind of thing. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, that's a great question. I hadn't thought of it that way, because the way we look at it is that technology is a tool. It's infused into everything that we do. It's not a separate class yet, although there will be specific instruction on how to utilize computers and computer technology and digital media for our academic program. The vision is integrated teaching and technology as a tool. So, for example, we will have a one-to-one computer environment. That means every student will have access to computers, but not in front of the screen 6.5 hours a day, but to mirror the world of work. And in the world of work, people don't share computers. Most often, people will be assigned to their computer for documenting their work, for calendars, for communications, for research. And we want our students to be prepared for that world, and for presentation work. And we want our students to be prepared for that. So we think that we need to have a one-to-one computer environment, and that it will be technology rich, but not the focus of the school, but to use it as a tool. So for communications, documentation, presentation.
Okay. So if a student might be interested in applying for a spot in the Tech Valley High in subsequent years, if they, up to the 8th grade, don't have a computer background or technology background, is that a hindrance to their acceptance into the school? Is there an assumption that they've been trained?
Absolutely not. I think it's important to say that there are only 2 requirements for students who are coming to Tech Valley High School. One is that they be on track to graduate 8th grade, and another is that they attend an information session so that they know about the academic program. The way we describe it is we want our students to be ready, open, and curious about our academic program. So students don't need to be at the top of their class. They don't need to have an enormous technology background. They don't need to have any specialized training in computers prior to coming. Those would be terrific. But public schools don't choose their students, neither will Tech Valley High. However, it is a specialized school. We have a particular approach. We have project-based learning. We have integrated teaching, and we want to make sure that our students know what we're doing before they come. So it's important for them to attend a parent and information session. That's the only real requirement besides being on track to graduate. We don't have an admissions test, nor do we look at their grades or any of those items as part of their application. It's a lottery.
Oh,
So
totally.
if
Okay.
students have attended a session and are on track to graduate 8th grade, and they're interested and ready and open and curious, their application comes to us and we put it in the pool to be selected.
Okay, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Back to, you were talking about the cultural richness of the area, and I totally agree. It's very exciting to live here. Are there going to be classes offered in art, music, or how about physical education? Is that all going to be integrated as well?
Absolutely. One of the things that's important to say is that, as I began, was same Regents standards, same credit standards, same New York State Learning Standards Regents exams for an advanced or regular Regents diploma. However, it's important for us also, though, to conduct the instruction in a way that's relevant and meaningful to the students. So you use the word integrated, which is exactly the term we use to describe our projects. So our projects are built around the New York State Learning Standards, 21st Century Skills Standards, the learning outcomes that we are trying to accomplish at Tech Valley High School. So So we build our work around those needs rather than on the needs of a traditional structure of 8 periods a day with credits in art and physical education and foreign language and social studies and English. We integrate our work around those. And the reason is when Jim Baldwin and Barbara Nagler began the odyssey that created Tech Valley High School a few years ago, they got around a table just like this with folks from some of the emerging technology companies, people from Plug Power and Superpower and alternative energies and information technology, MapInfo, and corporations like that, and said, well, if you guys were going to design a high school to create the kinds of employees, the kinds of workers that you want, what would it look like? And they started to articulate some of their needs, that they have a high need for workers, employees, who can think across disciplines. So they can think what we call in interdisciplinary ways. And in education, we call that interdisciplinary instruction. And so when you ask about classes in art and social studies and those things, we will certainly address the needs and the standards for those things, but in an interdisciplinary fashion, so that we're creating graduates who can think interdisciplinarily, so that in the very way that our corporations and our universities are saying that we need in our students and in our workers.
I have to say that I've heard in the last few years several times the supposition that students who are entering kindergarten today, we can't even envision what their jobs are going to be when they graduate high school or college. So this is, in a way, I assume by talking to the business leaders, they have some projection of what the world is going to be like in 20 years, working world. So I assume that was part of the brainstorming, was trying to envision what was going to be in 20 years.
Absolutely, that's a great point, because this freshman class that starts next fall will be the graduating class of high school of 2011 and the college graduating class of 2015. The estimates are, from Labor Department points of view and other business interpretation of what it's going to look like, is that the 10 hottest jobs in 2015 don't exist today, or only at the very nascent stages of development. So we can't prepare our students for particular jobs. It would be folly, because we don't know what they are. So, and folks in the corporate world recognize that, and so they're very articulate about developing skills that are transferable. It's also estimated that these students, by the time they're my age, will have changed jobs 12 to 15 times. So that it's about skill development and capacities and abilities, not about a particular certification for a particular job. So we're trying to parallel that. It's a moving target in many ways, but we do know that we have to focus on the skills of collaboration. Not only are the jobs not yet developed that will be there, but the technical knowledge and technical fields are changing so rapidly. The technical knowledge is doubling every 2 to 3 years. And if we keep at that pace, by the time these students finish college, it'll be doubling every 72 hours. So you have to rely on others. You have to develop that capacity to be trustworthy and to trust others, the capacity to collaborate and to create new products, new services in conjunction with others, because no one has the capacity now to know everything that they need to know. Mm-hmm. So building the capacity to think across disciplines, to recognize and to apply judgment, to trust and be trustworthy, these are the kinds of things that we need to focus on in schools. Mm-hmm. And it's exciting to be part of it.
And tell me about the teachers, because it seems like it would be very different methods to teach in what you're calling project-based learning environment. Mm-hmm. And so can you tell us a little bit about the teachers and their experience, mm-hmm. their education?
Absolutely. And I think that Tech Valley High is in the context. We have the privilege of being able to start from scratch and to start from new and to integrate the best of what we know. But many of the practices that we're interested in are being done in similar ways in other schools. I mean, I practice as a teacher myself, project-based learning. There are many high schools that are out there that are experimenting with projects and project teaching. We have the privilege of being able to build our academic program from the ground up with that in mind, rather than trying to graft projects onto a traditional infrastructure. So it's important. So you asked about the teachers. It's important to say that there are teachers across the Capital Region, across both BOCES and throughout the state, who are attempting pieces of what we're doing. So I think it's exciting for us to be able to bring them all together under one roof. The teachers all have experience in project-based learning and integrating their work with community and business partners. I think in several of them are multiple certified. So, and they also have experience utilizing technology in the classroom. So they all have experience in integrated teaching, in project-based teaching, and in utilization of community and business resources. So we hope to continue and improve their practices that they've already established, but we're starting from the ground up, so a lot of it will be new for all of us.
And exciting,
yes.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the funding of this public school, mm-hmm. And along with that, is this considered a charter school? Is this legally a charter school?
It is decidedly not a charter school. It is a public regional high school funded through the traditional BOCES tuition. So a student who comes from a district that's sending a student to us, that district will pay their tuition and be reimbursed according to their state aid ratio. So, and that's how it works for all BOCES programs. So they will be reimbursed a portion of the tuition based on their BOCES state aid formula. So that's the primary source. The secondary source, though, is that this has been supported by the state legislature in a number of grants and by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation seed money. So exactly. So corporate funding, government funding, district funding. Now the similarity in the sense that to what you would think of as a magnet high school is that a similarity. It's not the same, but it's similar in that we draw from a very large region. That's what a magnet school does, is take from different areas to create something specialized. But it is a public venture. Technically speaking, it's a BOCES program, but a product of a collaboration of the two BOCES, not any one BOCES. There is a Tech Valley High School Board of Education that governs, and that board is made up of members from the BOCES board in the Capital Region and the BOCES Questar board. So we'd like to think of it as the public schools as choice without charters in this case, that we believe that it's important for students for whom it makes sense to have this kind of academic program to have a choice, providing opportunities for students and providing opportunities for districts.
Are there extracurricular activities connected to the Tech Valley High School? Are there sports programs? What I'm trying by asking those questions is trying to distinguish the school in some way. To try to figure out what the differences are if people are watching this program.
Well, I think there are some trade-offs going from a traditional program to what we have at Tech Valley High School for the students, and one of them is that really robust interscholastic sports programs and robust after-school programs. In the first 2 years in the Map Info Corporation, we're committed to having extracurricular activities at least once a week, but because transportation is coming from 48 districts, that's hard. That won't be robust in the first 2 years, but when we move into our own building, I think you'll see extensive extracurricular activities. Interscholastic sports are not on the horizon, although depending on the interest of the students and their abilities and the interest of the parents, that's always a possibility. But our focus is on project-based learning, integrated teaching, and students working in conjunction with some of our business and community partners. That's the focus of our school, and we want students and families who are interested in that to join us, and I think that's what we have for our first year. So yes, in the future, I think you'll see quite extensive extracurricular activities. In the first year, at least once a week, interscholastic sports we'll have to see.
Tell us a little bit about your background and what you bring to the position that you're in right now.
Well, I started my teaching career in my early 20s in Washington, D.C. I taught in a private Catholic high school in inner city Washington for 5 years. Then I worked for a couple of years with some national education associations. Then I moved to Albany to teach at Albany High for 15 years. And I was very privileged when I was there to be able to work on a project which was a school within a school at Albany High School, based on some of the similar aspects that we're trying to employ at Tech Valley High School: authentic assessment, connections to the community, longer blocks of time, and integrated teaching. So I've had extensive experience in a similar program on a much smaller scale. So I think that combination of my academic background and certification and experience with the Essential School prepared me to become the first principal at Tech Valley High.
If you, is there something you would like our viewing audience to know about Tech Valley High School that we haven't covered here? Is there something that is not right obvious about Tech Valley High that people might not know about?
Well, that's a great question, and I think what I would like to say is that it's our intention, because it's a team effort at Tech Valley High School. It's not all about the principal. There's a director of institutional advancement, Rayona Roy, who's been integral to it. There's a number of staff members from both sides of the river in the Questar BOCES and Capital Region BOCES, as well as 100 other folks who are on subcommittees that are supporting the advancement of the school. So I want the public to know that there's tremendous support from both BOCES, from the business and community partners, from higher education, to see the school be successful. And secondly, I guess I'd like to say that it's our intention to make Tech Valley High School a resource, certainly a resource to the students who attend. That's a given. Their needs come first. But also to create it as a resource for other districts, that part of the funding comes from those districts. We want to share what we learn with them, and we want them to share what they know about it, to create a place where we can focus on 21st century learning, the development of project-based learning, and how what we learn can be utilized by other districts as a resource.
Do you anticipate that this, I think I've read that you don't anticipate this school getting any larger than 400 students.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct in
Correct.
that? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you can tell me why, and also, do you anticipate this ever trickling down, this kind of project-based learning, externship, high school, trickling down to middle school or elementary school? Is this something either here or in other parts of the country where it's moving down, or is this something that's established for teenagers, you know, the 9th through 12th grade only?
Well, a couple of things. One is anytime you plant seeds, you don't know what it's going to organically evolve into. And I think it's really evolutionary. I think perhaps as with the way things are moving so rapidly in education and the utilization of computer-assisted instruction and other avenues for applying technology in education, I think 4 years or 5 years from now it'll be interesting to have this conversation again to see what will be out there that may have an impact on both what we're doing at Tech Valley High and others. The question about how many students, the reason it's capped at 400 is for several. One is capacity, but really that's driven by the model in the New Technology Foundation. And when you look at research on small creative high schools throughout the country, in Chicago and New York and Boston and Philadelphia and the rest of the country, really there seems to be a threshold of success that once you get past 400, it becomes more difficult to manage. You're less agile, less able to change and adapt as needed. And you reduce some of the importance of remaining small is to be able to maintain good relationships between the students and teachers and families. And the smaller it is, the more able you are to maintain those lines of communication and that developmental relationship. So that's the answer to the numbers. Whether it would go down into elementary school or out somehow, I think we'll have to wait and see what our success is and what the interest is on the part of other communities. But we're committed to learning. That's what you do in innovation and creativity, is you apply what we know works in other states. We're not inventing anything brand new. This fall, there are 3 new technology high schools opening up in Indiana, I think 5 or 6 in North Carolina. And the network of schools that we're working in has 20 to 30 schools already established in it. So we're not creating completely from scratch. We're adapting a model to our region.
And these other schools, are they what I would call suburban, which is what I would call your new high school? It's not an urban-centered school. It comes from many different kinds of districts. Mm-hmm. Are these other schools as well, not just urban schools? I think that a lot of innovation that I've read about in education occurs in city schools where they're trying, well, they have
the funding and the resources to be able to do that.
Right, like the New Technology Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a school, as I understand it, in California, Napa Valley. Is that right?
There are 2 flagship schools. One is in Napa and the other is in Sacramento. And Napa, I think, would be more rural and suburban, and the Sacramento school, of course, is an urban school. I think you see, though, in the network of schools a great variety of schools, rural, suburban, and urban schools. The model isn't dependent on that. I think you're right that the reason much of the experimentation and innovation occurs in the urban areas is because that's where they have the larger student population and resources to do it. This is not foreign at all, what we're doing to New York City. I think they're part of their New Century schools and New Vision schools. I think they're opening 20 new small high schools in New York City, but that's a very large urban area. I think that's what the beauty of the collaboration between the 2 BOCES is because they combine their resources and combine the resources of 48 districts to create something that is a service to the students and to them. For a few $1,000s, they can participate in the high school and help to fund an innovative school that they couldn't possibly fund on their own. And as we learn, one of our main objectives is to articulate what we learn and how it could affect others who may be interested. So whether it's elementary schools or middle schools or other high schools, brand new schools or existing schools, I don't think we know yet.
Well, I think it's apropos here that your school is in the tech park, because sounds like it's kind of an incubator program. I mean, it sounds very exciting. What has been most surprising to you? I think have you been on board for a while, several months or a year?
I started in November. But I've certainly been following the development of the school since it first started emerging in the news media several years ago. So I've been following it very, very closely.
Has anything surprised you about this process, or that's a good surprise, a bad surprise?
I think the depth of interest on the part of the regional community is a very prominent aspect of the project. So I don't know that it's surprising as much as it is as I've started in November and grown with the development of the school. I've recognized how many people are out there supporting the school and see the value of being able to start fresh and to start new with what are the best practices that we know in high school education.
Did you get the interest that you expected from this first class of students? Was it?
Absolutely. We were very excited. We had 227 students and their families attend information sessions, which, if you recall, was the one requirement besides being on track to graduate 8th grade. We had to have students. So we had a potential applicant pool of 227. Of that pool, we received 136 completed applications for 40 positions. So well over 3 times the number of applications for the positions. We were very excited about that. I was very happy with the interest in the first year.
And I assume you've met the 40 students. Is there anything that you would like to say about the group?
Well, it's just a terrific group of students and their parents. We've had 2 orientations, actually. We met them first at the end of April and at the beginning of June. Just last Saturday, June 2nd, we had our second orientation. And both of those were designed around the students getting to know each other, parents getting to know each other, and to recognize who their children would be going to school with. But really, the second orientation was designed to start to build the culture, start to build our norms around how we want to be treated and how we want to treat each other, because I think at the root of a good school is a very healthy, open, communications-oriented environment. And so we wanted to be clear to begin the process by integrating parents. We don't view parent involvement at all. We consider it part of the fabric of what we do. We don't want to segregate that from the operations of the school. It's not something that you graft on. It's part of what you begin with and create as part of the fabric of the school. So yes, we have met the students, a very eclectic, interesting, creative, fun group of kids, and I think they represent the region. It's a good balance between boys and girls, and it's a good representation of the student body of the region.
So as I understand it, you tried to have some gender balance when you were choosing, as well as having someone from each school district that applied? Is that?
Yes, our hope, absolutely. You know, it's important too to say that the creation of Tech Valley High School was, required legislation on the part of the state legislature to allow the two BOCES to collaborate to create a 9 through 12 program. So, and in that legislation, it was very explicit how the admissions process would work, and that it had to be an open lottery to open to all the districts in both BOCES. So we followed the letter and spirit of the law in the creation of that lottery and in the conduct of the lottery. So we matched all the stipulations of how that lottery functioned was a direct result of the legislation, which I think is good. I think that's the way it should be. That's how, I think that's one of the best parts of it, is saying explicitly this will be open to all, not a school for any particular ability level.
Right. I just lost my train of thought.
Well, I think...
Go ahead.
I think that it's important to say, you asked about the students, I think it is important to say that we do have not only do we have a good geographic representation, I think we have a good ability distribution as well. We don't have students all at the top or all at the bottom or all in the middle. It's all over, and it's a very eclectic group, and that's what we want. That's what a public school has, and as a public school, we want our student body to mirror what is a traditional student body and elsewhere.
I appreciate what you just said, because I think that might have been a question that people might have, that this is for an elite group, and you're saying that it's not, that you're trying to find just a certain characteristics of openness and ability to learn in different ways and meet new experiences head on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Good. Again, I'm sorry. If people are interested now, if they want to learn more about Tech Valley High School, they think their children might be interested in it, where would they go? Who would they contact? And when do you anticipate more of these information sessions being held?
I think I would begin with the website, techvalleyhigh.org, www.techvalleyhigh.org. is the place to begin. It outlines our academic program, and I think you can see a picture of the current student body on the website. Information about the teachers, about the plans for the future. I think there are probably 70 or 80 frequently asked questions that you can peruse.
Okay,
as
that's
well.
a lot of information.
A couple of flash videos. I think anything that's not addressed on the website, there's certainly contact information for our communications folks, for myself, for others, that you can get emails to us or call us up, and we'll answer any questions we can.
And as far as information sessions for the next set of, would it be next spring?
Well, no, we would start, we anticipate just after or just before Thanksgiving. As 8th graders begin to schedule for 9th grade, it usually happens in that December, January phase. So we expect just before and probably just after the first of the year, we'll start those information sessions. They'll all be listed with times, with places, and directions to all the information sessions. I think we did 14 this year. Maybe less next year. Let's hope.
Do it geographically around the regions,
yes,
or you don't just have it in the one place? Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much. This was so informative, and you certainly added a great deal to our program. Thank you for taking the time.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being with us today in Parenting in the 21st Century.